Hello and welcome to Walker Tea Review. I'm Jason Walker, and we look at teas from various countries: Taiwan, China, where else? Kenya, the U.S. We looked at a Hawaiian tea. What else? What else have we looked at? Those are probably the key ones. I'm trying to think if there are any others. Well, Nepal's had several teas, but today we got a Japanese green tea today. It is a matcha, which means it's going to be in a powder form, and so I've got out some out of the ordinary equipment for me here. Necessary equipment for well, very useful. Not necessarily. I wouldn't go so far as to say necessary. The simplest way to do a matcha. And this is kind of very crude and on-the-go type, is to just fill a water bottle with a couple of powders, a couple of small almond-sized scoops of or a teaspoon, say half a teaspoon, so whatever your preferred level of strength. Drop that into your water bottle, add your water, and give that a vigorous shake for a couple of minutes, and that's a quick on-the-go type of matcha. So today we've got something, we're going to go through a little bit more of a process though, and we're going to be using this, an organic matcha from DoMatcha. And so let's go ahead and get this started. What happens with a tea like this, it often comes sealed with a pull top type of lid. So I've removed that, and with a matcha like this, you want to keep it as fresh as long as possible. Even so far as to store it in the refrigerator. Now, I wouldn't go freezer, but refrigerator can help. Now, a couple of other tools that you see that I have here. I have a sifter, because a matcha because it's a fine powder, can clump. Not necessarily because of humidity, could also be a cause of static electricity creating clumps. So I want to get out, I like mine a little bit strong. So that's one big size spoon scoop there. Let me get something a little bit smaller for this second one. That looks good. Kind of tap that, set that over to the side. You don't have to have a bamboo scoop. You could just get a very small portion of a teaspoon, or whatever strength you prefer. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to gently tap this to break that up into a powder and spread it out across the bottom of my bowl here. And so that's sifting just as you would sift a flour to make it lighter and fluffier, and dissolve in the water more evenly. We've got a few little clumps there, and I'm just going to kind of break those up with my scoop here, and that those last little bits will fall through. Give that a final tap. Get those out, and that looks good. Now it's time to add my water. I do want to do a couple of things. I want to kind of add my water and stir at the same time. Now my water has been brought down to a much lower temperature, though it's been cooling quite a bit more. I brought it to a very early boil, and it's been cooling now for about 4 minutes. So I do want a cooler temperature for this, somewhere shoot for something like 160 to 180 and kind of work from there. I want to kind of slowly add my water. I want to make kind of a W zigzag type of shape with my bamboo brush here. I hope the goal is to create a little bit of froth on here. It looks like a good strength. I'm starting to get some froth now on the edges. Okay, I'm not going to be able to talk a lot about the dry leaf. I can say that just kind of looking at this powder itself, this is one of the stronger, deeper green color of matcha powder that I've looked at. And let me just kind of introduce this tea before I go too much further. This, as I said, was from DoMatcha. You can find, this is their organic ceremonial matcha. You can find 1 ounce available for $33.99. Currently, or until say March 31st, 2011, you can use the coupon code WALKER capital W, Walker 2011, and you will get 20% off through, like I said, through March 31st. This one is organic. It is not USDA organic. It is JONA organic, which is the Japan Organic and Natural Foods Association organic. Okay, so that's what that's the organic status of this. Looking down, as I said, or looking at this powder here, it's, like I said, a very dark green powder, one of the darker greens that I've seen. So it's rich, it's vibrant, it's almost glowing green kind of color. That's one of the things you may want to keep an eye out for when you look at matchas or you're considering those. Secondly, I was able to get a good little bit of a good froth on this. And I'm looking down at this. It's because of the level of water the amount of water that I used in ratio to the amount of powder that I used. I've got a nice, deep, rich, heavy green color. I've got a froth that's kind of built up more so along the edge of the rim of the bowl right now. Looking down through, it's cloudy because, of course, the powder has dissolved in it. So let's go ahead and give it a try. Now, occasionally I will come across a matcha that that gives a metallic type of feel. I mean, it's as if you have just put a couple of nickels in your mouth that you're sucking on. There's a metallic harshness there. This one did not. This one has a light astringency, a kind of powdery, silken, powdery type of feel to it. But there's none of that metallic aspect that I just touched on. What you get towards the back, you begin to build on some of the sweetness, some of the smoothness, and this is like again, there's the cocoa powder texture, not the chocolatey type of taste, but the texture there that rests on the back and underneath the back of your tongue that builds with a kind of a gyokuro or a matcha type sweetness there. So on the front, you do, if anything, you get a very light, a very slight, like I said, very slight, light seaweed type of component there on the front and sides of the tongue. But that drops out, that fades away very quickly. You're not getting a strong, heavy spinach type taste, although there may be a little bit of that mid palate between, like I said, the front before it gets to the back. A little bit of spinach there in the middle, but really most of this tea, most of the experience is in the back. It's sweet, and it's a green sweetness. It is a bit of a very light buttery. Again, a little bit of spinach coming out. Not so much of a zesty type, lemony type zest. Let me give it one more shot. Starting to, it can settle a little bit because of the level of water, my water powder ratio here, so I'm going to kind of swirl it a little bit. So what you're left with in the back, again, is a light, slightly chalky, although that's not a negative descriptor here, lightly sweet, spinachy, chalky texture, and this aftertaste is sustained. I mean, it doesn't just drop off, it doesn't become thin either. It carries on pretty well. It builds sweetness in the sides of the mouth as well. So when I look at this tea as a whole, I would say this is one of the nicer aftertaste, a fairly rounded aftertaste as well as far as the what I'm getting in the back here. It's like I said, it's got some sweet. It's not overly astringent. It does not have a bitter component to it. It doesn't have that metallic texture to it either. So it's got subtle, gentle, sweet spinach components that balance well with that kind of chalky, powdery type texture in the mouth as well. So looking at this tea as a whole, I would give this tea a 91, something to check out if you're getting into a matcha tea type powder. The other thing you'd want to look at is checking out what kind of tools you want to get that go along with that, and then come back and taste along with us here at Walker Tea Review.